At SteelSeries, we make the headsets, mice and keyboards that the world's best gamers win the most with. And we've been doing it since way back. It's up to you how far you go, but whatever you do, go for glory.
We're back on the desk as Lightside take down Verdant, and they push themselves forward in the standings. This is an interesting game. This is an interesting take because of the champion select itself. Temporal, you brought up a topic that I want to start this conversation with. Champion select, I don't think they kind of locked in any sort of objective taking. Like, what are they aiming for?
Yeah, like we highlighted Verdant's ease of execution because I think when we see Darius locked in, we presume it's time to smash lane. It's time to run forwards. Like, I think Erol, fair enough, was there at the Dragon and showed up in force, but otherwise the Zeri wasn't like accelerated. The Leona didn't burn summoner spells ahead of fights, which is normally how I expect that champion. You know, you rail through 3 solar flares before a dragon. That's 3 opponents whose flashes in that 5-minute timer won't be available. I didn't see the opportunities that Verdant should have afforded themselves with their draft taken effectively, and it really did just let Lightside rack up the objectives.
Now, when we jump into the game, this is where we open the discussion of what happened realistically, because that Darius didn't succeed at all. Yet again, Elijah with the Xante, we talked about it, 100% win rate. It still stays strong.
Yeah, and I think people meme a lot on Xante, very rightly, but that first kill that Elijah got was pure
Respect.
outplay.
Yeah.
Like, very swift dodge back on the Decimate, avoiding the outer part of the axe and just completely turning Shihan around. And this is the issue that you can have with the Darius sometimes. If he gets that first kill, then you're off to the races, and there's very little that can stop you. But that first kill came through, and then Shihan interrupts Elijah's recall when he was going to TP down for a fight around the bot side, dies again, and at that point the Darius is really, his window to be effective in the game has sort of passed. And whilst the goal difference only ends up being a 1,000 or so in favor of the Xante, in terms of the champion's ability to have an impact on the outcome of the game, it's heavily favoring the sort of scaling tank in that aspect.
So Verdant got a little bit injured at the beginning of the game with that idea, so I want to communicate with someone from the team itself, and it's time to welcome the Portuguese soul, Miguel!
Hello, man. Yo.
Hello! Yeah, we started in Portuguese. We had to do it, guys. I only have 1 Portuguese player in the league. Let me enjoy this moment. To start with on off, obviously, people are talking about Verdant as this could be a top-tier team, like in terms of numbers, but it's still not getting there. There's a showcase of talent. There's a showcase of almost getting the games, but the results at the end of the day are not what you're looking for. What do you believe is happening in the games?
Like
I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I feel like our main problem right now is that I feel like we just aren't really on the same page, you know? Like, I guess coming into this week was a little tricky as well because obviously we had to play with sub mid laner, and not that Tyrell is bad or anything, of course, but we didn't have practice with him. So only 1 week of practice with our sub doesn't help as much. But regardless, I feel like when it comes to key moments of the game, like, we're just not on the same page. Like, team fights are very messy, we're looking to different things, and we just don't click together. That's something we kind of need to look into, because individually, I feel like all of it should be pretty good.
Exactly, like individually it should be top notch, but then communication. I saw the last team fight where I see the engage from Dopamine. No one was there. You were still running to the line. You're a Leona. You're kind of slow, you know? So it's complicated. All of a sudden the team is dead and you just approach. It seems like the communication is still not there. So my question to you is, how is the big difference jumping from LPLL to NLC? How are you feeling with this?
I feel like, to be fair, the quality level of this league is definitely better. I'm not gonna lie. But regardless, I still have faith in all my teammates. Like, I think we're just going through a bit of a bad spot right now. I think, yeah, we just kind of need to sit down, talk, and I have faith that we can turn this around, honestly.
So you still believe, like, this is still a run for playoffs? It's doable. We got this.
Definitely. Still locked in. Still want to make playoffs, of course.
I love it.
I think it's just a matter of getting focused.
My last request to you is for you to say something which I know 100% of the cast and everybody on the talent team will not be able to say so. Can you say codfish in Portuguese?
Of course, bacalhau, man.
There you go, and nobody will be able to say that one. Thank you so much for the interview, Kamsky. It's a pleasure to have you with me.
No problem.
I'll
Thank
see you
you,
soon.
Guys, do you know that Archer's Portuguese? I don't think he's ever mentioned it.
Portuguese!
Not sure.
This is getting dangerously close to duckling levels of sort of national pride, man. Like,
Oh. Calm down. So, I have way more pride in my country than Duckling has. Not only because of our differences in heights, because I have like more capacity of having that pride, you know. More years living within the country. I'm Portuguese. We're kind of Latino, so there's a lot of noise. You've heard this before. But I only have one Portuguese player, so let me enjoy this moment. This is probably my only
to be
moment.
fair, you got a lot more to be proud of than me and Middlecon, that's for sure.
And Duckling as well.
yeah.
It's such faith as well, like between Archer and Portugal and Duckling and Denmark. Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Kamsky and Verdun, you know, excited to be in the NLC, the like sort of rebranded Why Did You Like League with 6 teams that are really good and could win, but only 4 slots in playoffs, and to be like, yeah, it's okay. Second half coming. We're gonna do our best. Like, how resolute do you have to be to not like throw in the towel here, to not be upset that you've had to play with a substitute, even though Errol did really well, highlighted it there. Your systems aren't together. You're not ready.
The Portuguese buff is real. I'm just letting you know,
It's
the
huge.
last Portuguese player that played at NLC was Attila, and he was playing in the World Cup. Remember that? Yeah, maybe this is the arc for Kamsky. Keep that in mind. So let's talk with the other team as well. Fast Legged, I believe he's the one who's going to be on the interview. He played the Nautilus. There you go. Now we're talking. Pleasure to meet you. How are we feeling?
Pleasure to meet you. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, I think you were mentioning Portuguese buff. My partner's actually Portuguese, so I don't know if that counts. Yeah. I mean, you can tell by the K-pop, right? That's not mine, you know. But,
I don't have K-pop. Hey, what?
You know,
is that a thing in Portugal?
Yeah, of course. But, you know, I love my Bitok, you know. So
my man, Bitok.
If you want Portuguese, well, this is British, but look, pretend it's Portuguese flag.
You know what? Now I'm getting buffed. Now I'm hyped for Fast Legged in LLS. Talk to me about LLS. You guys are skyrocketing through the standings. You're gonna win the split. So talk to me, man. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, we can always dream, you know. Our expectations are high. I think a lot of people doubted us and put us like bottom 2 team. I think there was a tier list, and everyone was like C tier on our team. So it just feels good to, you know, prove people wrong. You know, it's nice.
I really like this because, in my opinion, I think LLS is a team that is looking for the top contender, like for the top 4 places. You believe the same, obviously. That's why you're playing with the team. Who do you think is going to be sharing that 4th place with you? Like, you could be fighting for the 4th place. Who do you think will be tied up to fight for that 4th place?
I think it'll be like Venom Crest, Nord, Ruddy and us, probably. I think that's like the top 4. I think that'll, if we keep playing like we're playing and get more 2-0 weeks, I think we'll be top 4 easy. Yeah.
I have a big question. We were talking about the idea that LLS just changed the entire roster, like believing in that change like that in Summer Split, which is a really important time for every single org. And when you saw that proposal of, hey, Fastlake, you want to join an entire new roster in Summer Split and NLC, what was your first thought when you saw that?
I mean, when I got told, it felt good, you know? I mean, in the trials that we played, I think I gapped most supports, and there's some other supports in the rest of the league that trialed, so they know who they are. Just remember. But, you know, honestly, it felt good. Like, with Bart, we played UKL, right? A lot of people were just like, oh, we're Div 3 players, but we've been playing for a while, you know? He's been playing for a long time. I was played in TCL for a bit, played already UKL. So we didn't really feel nervous, like, as for the step up. The quality is good, but I think we fit in quite well, and I think we're like middle upper easily, so it's pretty good.
I like that. Obviously, you have a little bit of blood on the Portuguese side when you're flaming like that, so I'm down for it. So we have 2 Portuguese.
The Latino.
The Latino! No, it's okay. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Fastlake, and best luck for the remaining games.
Obrigado. See you.
He knows! He knows! We have two Portuguese. Shut up! Let me enjoy the moment. 4-1-13 as Bartoli is the MVP. Gold, we don't care about that. We care about the kill participation. Bitoque, by the way. Nobody knows what that is, but it's an amazing dish in Portugal.
I tried Googling it during the segment, and I don't think I have the pronunciation. I don't think I have the spelling down. I think the only goal that matters on this graph is the massive shield around Bartholdi that trapped all 5 members of Verdant in front of their dragon and just allowed the splash damage from Lightside to rain over the top. Absolutely monstrous performance.
And it's another game from Lightside where we're looking at them as a very strong, cohesive unit with an identity that they play towards. I think we're calling out in the green room how, whoa, Fruity Fresh is going to win another game where he just like stops farming at some point, but it doesn't seem to matter because they work as a unit, they work as a team, they play around these objectives so well. Of course the guy had to spice it up going like poke Kaiser, but it absolutely works. Once we got into the later stages of that game, it just became impossible for Verdant to approach.
You know what? When I look at Fruity Fresh, I believe he's like the mad scientist, but the nicest mad scientist we've ever seen. Like,
he's definitely like Doc Brown. He's definitely like Back to the Future kind of vibes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trust like him to make a coffee because I'm scared that he put something in it. But you know, I know he's got my best interest at heart.
He'll probably put AP on that. I don't know somehow. By the way, the Bitoque is on the Discord if you guys want to check what that is on the.
Middle cut. If I say a dish contains a thin steak, eggs, green vegetables, what do you presume it is?
What about the rice and the rest? I mean, calm down.
Contains. This isn't a complete list. Sounds pretty British to me, right?
That's UK food.
Sounds like UK food. Now, I must admit, this authentic recipe I've opened doesn't look authentic, and Google Images shows this off. Like I've traveled South America a little bit.
There's also a little sauce in it, by the way. There's a special sauce.
Peak Spanish-speaking cuisine of like a beautifully cooked thin steak. We can't do that. That's not in our wheelhouse.
Yes,
Artrum, I'm looking at this, bro. This is steak with a fried egg on it and half with a bit of salad. Like
that's tough,
missing
right?
the sauce, by the way. The cool thing is, I know you think this is a British dish, but like the remain of your cuisine, you don't have cuisine, so you're just stealing from other countries. Moving on, Venom Crest versus Natives. Now that's spicy. You want sauce? Oh, yeah. I brought you the sauce because I want to bring yet another head-to-head between these two teams. Bringing the graphic, you are not expecting this.
No.
And why did I pick this? Look at
I
kill
nearly
participation yet again.
High-raged Hilibrdage yesterday because he just likes to send it, and
I love that, by the way.
He's absolutely in the deep end, and I think we could say the same with Theocax. It was a fantastic Maokai performance. Yeah,
it's a jungler.
Yeah, yesterday he was everywhere, everything all at once. He got in, got out on Maokai, did a significant amount of damage, which isn't normally what we associate with a pick. And it was sort of great to see like that all-round performance. And I kind of want to see the same from High Rage, but I don't think he's getting out quite as often, just like our favorite tier 1 support.
Good lord. Good.
Hey, we're jumping back into Champion Select as we get the Tristana, Ivern, and Maokai.
Look at that respect, Maokai, man.
Skarner, Sejuani, and Talia. Rumble is available. Boom. Yeet. He takes it away, but Corki is also available. So that's another one. And Vi is getting a lot of attention today. I don't know, Arcane buff. Still have to wait until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man. That is a long old way. Hopefully Theocax is able to have a bit of a better performance on the Vi than his fellow countryman Dopamine did have in the last game. Vi is an incredibly powerful pick, but you need to have follow-up with it. You can't just be solo ulting someone because she doesn't have the damage once she isolates someone to actually take them out. Cassante does, though, and we've seen what Lenny can do on this pick. Absolutely insane. Already Venom Crest drafting for themselves here. A lot of lockdown.
Oh, getting Cassante as well. We've seen this before, but you're putting yourself versus a Rumble. The thing is, I know Lenny doesn't care about that. I've seen this before.
I'm on the fence here. If I become natives, the entire organization, and Dem, who's probably calling the shots on this draft, if I go bot lane, I think Lengard and Simpy don't care. I think they eat the bans. I think you lock mid for Fierce anyway. Giving a Varus at least gives you some sort of power through the lane. I'm at a complete loss as how do you generate an advantage here. Mid jungle wouldn't do it into Vi. And Varus Rel at least says, like, you know, we're gonna come get you, we're gonna come fight. But at the same time, Lingard's been so flexible. I'm not sure, like, these last bans have to be so good.
I think you're at least getting a fairly decent combo out of these 3 picks here. If it is the Rel that's going to get locked in, Chains of Corruption into the Rel ultimate, and then the Equalizer over on top. I think one of the benefits of Rumble and Varus is that they can keep a fair distance away from the Vi and from the Cassante. Obviously, it depends on whether we're going to be seeing a poke Varus or whether we're going to be seeing an on-hit. You still can stand very far back if you're doing the on-hit build, but obviously you're going to be providing a fair bit less in those team fights if we're just throwing Qs from match range.
Now, this makes sense, but I would say natives have to ban away the way. And even the Ziggs, because if you're looking for that Varus to be safe, and Lingard has played both of them, and he's ridiculous with that. It's not only free refresh.
We've got so many great mage players in the bot lane. It's becoming a bit of NLC flavor.
Something is happening.
Crossing my fingers for you, me masters. Even in play-ins, we're gonna start to see things. Ziggs, like the mage is coming through. You're right. Maybe they'll get the play as well, because I don't see one without the other. If you're standing away from this equalizer, if Middlecott's right, and it's now we're all in on sort of this cataclysmic teamfight combo, then you gotta make sure that Venom Crest can't be spread enough to make it an impossible execution.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits from stuff like a Ziggs and stuff like a Wei is that whilst they're not going to be going with the Cassante or the Vi, they do have enough range to follow up with their ultimates and with their damage.
Vi holding everyone still.
Damn, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. There you go. So both AP are removed from the bot lane. Do we have another one that can play really long range and AP?
Wouldn't
and
mind them
safe.
flexing that Corki. Lingard could play another Kaiser game. Already seen hybrid Kaiser out of them, and we just saw in against Verdant what light sides Kaiser could do.
He played
I
Kaiser
think we also need to bear in mind, right, that if we get that Corki being flexed into the bot lane, the Echo is unbanned. And we know
Oh
that
no, I
this can
forgot! Everyone, we forgot!
Absolutely tear through people. I literally said in the recap,
In the video,
they
don't
really
forget.
improvised draft rep
Don't
for everybody.
forget.
Because you just banned the Echo. And hey, look, Echo's a champion that can go along with the Vi. You've got the Rakan in there that can also jump over the top, and Varus doesn't have a lot of mobility. That Rumble, if they get locked down, will explode quickly as well. An angle is present potentially, provided the mid lane matchup is favourable.
You know what? I was even just about to suggest a control mage from natives. A Syndra, while the mid 2v2 kind of sucks, maybe not with Volibear actually, would just set up for this equalizer and this beautiful team fight. And Yone kind of fits the same deal. And Echo kind of bites him badly.
Fierce said it. If I have to, I will play him. You don't need to ban him, but if I have to, I will play it. This could
Of
be
course,
a-
he's not going to ask people to ban it, are you?
No, I'm like, no, you don't need to ban my champion. I'm good with other champions, but if you ask, I'll bring him up. It's like a threat. But oh, it's going to be the Corki in the mid lane and the Kaiser on the bot side. Okay.
I like the Kaiser movement because once
We're
again
safe.
we're going to be firing W's from really far away, and we'll only all in once like the threat of Rumble Zonya's equalizer is nullified or is forced out, which is quite nice. So I like the Kaiser hold here. Sort of identified that just in time. I do wonder if Theoloris is just going to be able to burn through. There's not a lot of front line outside of that. Outside of the top side.
We seen one matchup where Xante was picked versus the Rumble, and he got demolished, the Rumble. So this is a possibility. When we look into this champion select, obviously the numbers are kind of swapped, 1-4 for natives, 4 and 1 for Venom Crest. Regardless of that, when we see this, what do we expect in the game? Expectations from you for the first minutes.
Want to see Highbridge show up around the top side? Want to try and see the Volibear actually execute on something at a similar timing to the Vi. So you can, on both of these junglers, burn flash very early, something we saw earlier in game number 2. Game number 1 rather. Gosh, time's getting away from me. That's why this is my idea, I guess. I want to see like commitment and timings 'Cause I feel that's my biggest criticism of the league so far. We like these sort of sleeper, slow games, and then if we take our part of late game that we like and we execute on it best, we'll win. I want to see some dragons on and grubs on timers. I want to see some of the spells actually burn. And with these junglers, when you commit your own, you tend to get a decent return on investment.
Middle.
I think
Well,
that
thank you so
Venomcrest are
much.
gonna
Let's
win.
toss it to the game. It seems like he doesn't want to talk about it. Might as well watch it. I understand what you're saying. You just want to watch the game.
He just
He's
wants to be a
already going to the
Venomcrest
living
fan.
room.
He just
Look
wants
at him,
to
he's
be a
going to the
Venomcrest
living room
fan.
just to watch the game in like a big screen. So let's toss it to the castle. Stick it away, initialize. Make Middlecott proud.
I feel like I should be wearing like a football jersey and preparing for the Euros, because clearly, you know, I'm doing this at my PC. He's gonna go laze on the couch and like get a beer and a box of popcorn out. What is this?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, this is. I have peak cozy mode set up behind me if I need to, if we really need to get casual enough. But,
Yeah, I mean, how's your Alan Shearer impression? I can do an okay Peter Drury, so we can get the football vibes on.
Yeah, you know, I can try and make something work. You've just got to, you know, put on an accent. We'll save that for maybe a rainier day, I think.
Yeah, it's maybe not right now.
Yeah,
boy.
not for the time being. I mean, these two compositions, though, we
Yes.
sort of have been caught off guard, I think, by the amount of Kai'Sa that we're seeing today. And with now natives facing another Kai'Sa, they've got this really death ball composition natives have with your Yone looking to layer on top of a Rel Rumble Hot Pot combo with a Fate Sealed going through all of that. Hey, if everybody gets caught up in it, it's terrifying. And Ball impressed from week one on this Rel, so maybe we get to see that again.
All impressed in week one, but it's been a couple weeks since then, and we need to see a bit more if they want to rise up the standings. In their way, though, is Venomcrest. To see it play out, we'll hit the rift.
The temptation for me to come in with an Alan Shearer impression was so through the roof. So through the roof, and you do not understand.
Like, genuinely, I think we might have to hold up on our discussions on commentary greats from other disciplines for a second or two, but no, it's only a award put down, so I can finally finish my point. I genuinely think one of the greatest commentators of all time, period, is Peter Drury. If you want to get into casting in general, go listen to his speeches on Messi and Ronaldo. The Messi speech when he won the World Cup a couple years back was spine-tinglingly good. It was beautiful stuff. So, you know, memes aside, the guy's very good.
Yeah, genuinely. And a sort of a bit of a role model-ish, almost, I would say. Oh my word, it took us 1 minute and 55 seconds.
Excellent. We can muse about great commentary people of other disciplines. There's a few out there, and I think it's always interesting as well.
How good's your Aguero?
Not good enough. I think the problem is I don't know Aguero well enough to do it in a way that wouldn't be like aggressively caricatured.
I see. Okay. The famous call from, I think it was, I can't remember what year it was, but when Man City first started, I think it's, I don't remember his name, even though he's like, is it Guy Mowbray, like the really famous commentator?
So it's Guy Mowbray and Alan Shearer are the commentary duo at the minute. So it's him and Peter Drury are the two like really big names for me in different ways.
Okay, but he did like the really big. This wasn't much of a speech, but like the hype moment when Manchester City were like 2-0 down at the start of the 87th minute, and then final game of the season, they come back, score 3 goals in 5 minutes, including stoppage time, and then win the league against Manchester United with the other team who would have won it had they not found those 3 goals. And yeah,
magic.
Commentary magic, indeed.
It turns out that sometimes when you do this job, you have a few heroes of your own and people you look up to. Oh, yeah. And there's some great stuff with it. And perhaps, now that the game's back on, we can refocus in just a touch. Because I will note, Lingard gone for the PTA. I did wonder whether, as another one of those AP bot lane players, in Lingard being that is, whether we'd see another look in towards a Muramana style play from that, but it's looking with the PTA to possibly be more of that hybrid build, I wonder, that's been a bit more popular. Things like the Nash's Rageblade might make more sense with that.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether it's, you know, like this hybrid style or what I call the more northern style of Kai'Sa, where it's, no, I'm an AD carry, I'm going to play AD. And you go Kraken Slayer and an Infinity Edge, and that's good enough.
Yeah, love AD, hate AP, simple as. And exactly that.
Bosh. You know, if you don't
Bosh.
say Bosh
Yeah,
at the
Bosh.
end,
Yes.
the Bosh sells it, right? Oh god, they're already fighting.
Oh, Space is about to be spaced, perhaps, but no, gets to keep the oxygen in his lungs and isn't introduced to the vacuum of his namesake. Stays alive for now.
Okay.
Painful, though, with the Q3 available. And Hybrid running very aggressively at the Corki. And oh, the huge manatee. That's a dead Corki in mid lane, surely. Yeah, there we go. Took a second.
There was a world there where Hybrid actually body blocked Painful, so there was definitely an element of creep block there, and that could have been the difference in terms of finding the kill or not. Painful managed, though, to find the final snipe that ended up taking down Fierce. Double flashes burned from both the volley and the Yone, but like you say, successfully done so, found first blood. And now the Yone gets to go back to base, pick himself up probably a very juicy item. Not sure if we're on Vamp Scepter timer or not with it, but it's going to feel good either way. Oh wow, even better, we're full build.
Oh, that is it. Lethal Tempo isn't in the game, and
okay, yeah,
Fear should be very grateful for that, because if I had to face down a Yone who gets first blood and gets to back for Berserker Greaves at sub 5 minutes, I might actually cry. And that's something no one really wants to see. It's not a pretty affair.
No. I mean,
Well,
hey,
you're not supposed to agree with that.
Let the emotions out. Let the emotions out. All for it.
Yeah. So I have to cast with this guy called Rude Dude, and I just can't do it anymore, man.
Me and your therapist, I'm sure we've never met, but I'm sure they know way too much about me, you know?
It's true. You're the pain point in my entire life, absolutely,
I'm the
mate.
subject.
You're the...
And I take pride in it. Anyway.
You see what I have to deal with, guys? This kind of level of vitriol, honestly.
Yeah, the hate is palpable. That's...
He was a Sith Lord all along, I knew it.
Theo down on the spot side now.
Yeah, remember they've already had to burn the barriers. There's not really much room for space to go. A crash down from Ball will keep him alive. So the flash burned for a relatively easy look in from Theocax. Highbridge is here, but only really comes down to put a control ward down. That's all there is to say about that. Painful gets a Q3, and I wonder whether they might use it to go across the wall and have some style points. But nope, they'll hold on to it because they're a lot more sensible than I am.
Yeah, potential trades over style points. Who'd have known?
Come on now, you got to let them know, you know?
I know, but that's why we're casters and not pros.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm not good at this game. There's a reason for that.
If I can flash for no reason but make it look cool, hey, I'm doing it.
Everyone's down here, but you can see it's just Highbush being around to help escort this wave in, because obviously Simpy and Lingard had gotten the better of the early shove, and Space that's just low HP would love a solid reset.
Yeah, they need help from the jungler, but Theo's not looking to give it.
Remember, there's no flash, no pull-up, no barrier on Space. Goes down anyway. It'll be a 1-for-1. Theocax, no real way out. He's waiting on a Vault Breaker cooldown. What's happening in mid lane? They're either going to be able to come over and join. It doesn't look like it. Flash to try and interrupt the Vault Breaker does not go well, but there's still a mount up, and it vaults them into Volibear, who's a little jealous he can't flip people anymore.
And it's just the discrepancy in early game power. Fundamentally, Volibear is going to outtrade you whoever you are in the jungle, and Hybrid makes that work. The engage from Simpy, it looks good, but there's enough bodies in the way to keep Space alive for enough time for him to get his cooldowns out. And then once that has come through, we already touched on it last match, the early game of a Kai'Sa, it's not great. The early game of a Volibear, however, far superior. And with that, a 2-for-1 comes through, successfully quickly diving under the turret to take out Theo as well, and Natives find themselves a solid advantage in the jungle.
They will be in a pretty good position, I think that's fair to say. I felt like I had something more interesting to say there, and I didn't, so I just went with something significantly more generic, and I want to apologise to you specifically for that.
I did the same thing in game 1 with a Baron at call, so do not worry. I think the important part that is, something to take note of is that the bot lane is still really, really hard for Natives specifically. Yes, Hybrid has this advantage in the jungle, but despite the 2-for-1 going in favour of Natives, that didn't translate to a specific AD carry lead.
There's the Q3 lead. He can go all out, but remember, Highbridge is already there. Can look to ult over the wall. It's all been a ruse. Venny flashing on forwards, gets the kill anyway. It's a 1-for-1. Oh, natives.
As Highbridge brings the storm down on Lenny, but it is that 1-for-1 as mentioned. Lenny has TP to get back to that top lane, which might well give him that advantage in the long run. Looks like Theoloris had to burn that a little bit earlier on in the laning phase. Not quite at that Liandry's just yet, so a little bit of time before we see that Rumble truly start to burn through the Cassante. As we see good adaptation from the rest of Venom Crest as well, with Highbrad showing his face on that top side. At least an element of control placed in that bot side jungle. There's now a ward on both sides of the wall opposite red buff, so next to the Raptors and in the brush that not many junglers tend to check on their way through, but that does grant vision heading toward the golems. And with that, Theocax this is rather, starts up the Drake, important to distinguish our Theos this time round, as we have one on either side, and yeah.
Loris and Cax.
Yeah.
All right, Loris. And actually, speaking of Theoloris, I feel really bad for him, because obviously Lenny goes all out, but he was desperately trying to get the wave shoved, because Highbridge was waiting. They were going to tower dive. And Lenny manages to make a bit of a mess of it by just dragging him through the wall in a difficult position. Dragon secured, wave still shoved in bot lane, and because, of course, you're going to hold on to that thought about bot lane, because top lane Lenny gets slowed down, gets a buffer through the Q, so that's something, but Painful comes over the wall with the fate sealed, and Theoloris gets vengeance as a 3v1 gank does pay off in the top lane.
And that was actually really, really smart play from Highbrad once again. Instead of letting the Q get buffered, actually just runs straight past Lenny. So he puts the stutter down so that he would have been immune. But actually, the Volibear Q lasts for so long that once the channel stops from Lenny, that's when the stun comes through. Oh, goodbye.
Bot lane, huge engage. The Magna Storm afterwards gets something back, but Lingard has an ult, stays alive just about. Another battle dance, and Lingard's alive and with a kill to his name.
Yep, single-digit HP once again. We're seeing a lot of that today, but it's the millimeters of League of Legends, the fine margins that end up making the difference. And this time round, Lingard stays alive by those exact fine margins, able to go 2-0-1 now. The static shiv, excuse me, already finished up, heading towards potentially that Ginsu's this could be as the next item of choice. And with that in mind, you know, the on-hit style, not necessarily as highly prized, but this hybrid certainly could come to the fold.
Fierce will manage to Valkyrie away, and Ball will run into Simpy, both supports on similar wavelengths. Do you see quite a lot of that of the matched roams mid lane, and now Simpy and Ball will bicker a little in that side lane bush, but I don't think it'll amount to too much. A battle dance, sorry, a grand entrance, and a crash down go away.
Yeah, more of a grand exit this time out, as Simpy recognises, hey, you know, Painful's right round the corner. Probably not going to try and take the support or combat 1 versus 1 at present. Obviously,
and
the
you say
objectives...
that, they're doing that right now. Look at what's going on.
The mid laners are occupied right now.
Okay.
Painful's got a wave to catch. Fierce, same sort of spot. We can trade some auto attacks. That's fine. In the long run, though, it did end up being a trade of the neutral objectives. First Drake did go to Venom Crest in exchange for those first 3 Void Grubs. Now, you can see already an all-in top side, actually.
Ooh, gonna get a bit of a stun. Flash away. Theoloris gets the equalizer
Nicely
down
played.
and wins the 1v1. Fabulous flash.
And for one of our top all-pro top laners from last split,
Hang on.
getting surpassed by the rookie, as Space is just gone. Has
The
flash,
last
though.
person I knew who was an AD carry called Space used to play with Mad Life, and he didn't have a particularly good time of it all those years ago. It's a different player using the same name, and still the bullying continues all these years later.
Unfortunately, AD carry hasn't really changed all that much. You know, sometimes you're going to get killed by a bruiser 15 minutes into the game, and that's just the life that you have to live with, unfortunately. As the Theocax fight down on the spot side continues to prevail, and Space is just not a part of this game for the time being. It is going to be reliant on Theoloris, reliant on Highbrad, and an element of Painful being in there to make the most of this fight. And I want to mention Painful quickly because we got to 100 CS. Painful thought, you know what goes well at this point? It's a cull. I think that's going to be great for me. Yeah, you know, 10 minutes into the game, we're scaling for the late game right here.
It's an interesting choice. I'll give him that. I feel that could come back.
You feel
like,
negatively. You can say that you feel
yeah,
negatively
I think
about
I do.
the call.
I think, in fairness, if he gets to side lane a lot, he can get a lot of value out of it, potentially, if you do just get to free farm in a side lane. But if it delays some important spikes because he's kind of just been a bit slow to get a hold of it, that could prove problematic. But hey, it might just have been like, hey, I've got this extra bit of gold, I can't complete my item,
Yeah.
I may as well get extra value. I don't hate it that much. It's just an unusual timer, I grant you.
Yeah, and I think if Infinity Edge is the second item, I'm absolutely okay with it, because my argument would be, well, just buy an item for your or buy a component for your second item, because, you know, AD items, you can get long swords, you can get daggers there, really cheap. If you're going for Infinity Edge on 2, never mind. Try to catch a wave, Space, I dare you.
No!
Try to catch a wave, buddy.
There's no mysteries remaining. They've explored it. It's Star Trek. The final frontier is between two towers in bot lane. Ball's in danger, a cease and desist comes on through, and Ball will throw down a Magnus Storm, and here is Hyperis trying to keep people alive. Painful about here, flashed away from Ball, finally goes down, Theocax now in danger, and out comes the Stormbringer, but Lingard rejoins, Painful trying to get something snatched back to his soul, down goes the Volley Bear, and they kill off the Yone 2, a double kill to Fierce, who is Fierce indeed
massacre.
now.
Absolute slaughter from Venom Crest in the bot side jungle. I hesitate to call it a 4 versus 4, but that was effectively the amount of members committed from either side. It starts off with Space getting picked between the tier 1 and tier 2 turret. He might finally be able to get a wave under his turret. That's the saving grace here. It's coming behind the Cloud, which is an absolute demolition of their own bot side jungle.
The issue, I think that, well, the silver lining is, oh no, Space, not like this, does actually just hit level 8. Oh my days, I was getting very worried there. Got away with it. That ward was very necessary. Of course, no ult available for Lingard, so worth noting that. But what I was about to say is 6 scrubs and a lot of plates and a couple kills have given Theoloris a 2,000 gold lead individually. And Rumble can be one of those matchups that can take apart a Cassante. For all that initial solo kill was great work from Lenny. After that, there's been a lot of attention topside that's made his life very difficult. And now, a couple more autos, gets rid of that. Lenny now once again in a 1vx scenario, trying to play this one out, but there's nowhere really to go. Avoids the Shattering Strike, goes unstoppable, pulls away, but there's still so much damage coming his way. Lenny, I had you in my fantasy team, and you're letting the side down, mate.
And there's just so much distance for him to try and cover as well. As soon as that tier 1 turret falls, it's like, okay, cool, you can try and count them out, but for how long are you going to be able to survive? Unfortunately, the answer on these components, it is not long enough. You'd have to have walked all the way back to your tier 2 turret and you're waiting for support from your team. It's just not possible, unfortunately. Finally, we get to see the announcer tell us that Theoloris managed to take down Lenny and find themselves on a killing spree. Quite nice, but now mid lane again.
Painful still at half HP. Fierce has just been chunking him out. The Trinity Force spike has been huge. And now you've got 2 items on the Kai'Sa, who's got R again. Not quite level 11 when you can Killer Instinct that significantly bigger distance. But still, going to be able to get a lot of control over this mid lane wave. Theoloris has now grouped with the team. And the equalizer value will have to be huge considering how much of the team's gold he's holding on to right now.
And okay, we're engaging.
Into the quickness. There's no ability to stop. We'll get the flash away. And the teleports come flying on through. The equalizer's okay. Stun onto Fierce. Gonna get that Sky Splitter afterwards. Flash for the Q3. Into
painful.
The face. Sealed. Painful. Glorious. Get something back. Both AD carries fall.
One of the bright spots from last split on this Venom Crest roster. Transfers teams. Makes himself known now up against his prior team. Excellent engage in the mid lane. Looks like it's just the tier 1 turret. The charge going down is nice. Maybe they steal away this blue buff as well. Never mind. Good smite. Was able to keep it inside Venom Crest's back pocket, but painful. On this Yone, didn't really have too much of a time in the sun throughout the early stages of this game, but right there, gorgeous.
Saying as well, the health bars are quite low. Dragon already taken by Venom Crest. Teleport happening top lane. Remember Theoloris, no ult, no flash. And I don't think much of a life left to be had. This will be a big old shutdown going the way of Lenny.
Alright, okay, that's a big win. Venom Crest, I think they'd have liked it to be on Fierce, but this is going to obviously help Lenny out in that side lane and maybe makes him a little more durable versus the Rumble, who currently sat at 2 items, by the way. Terrifying in a 1 versus 1. So, Mechanic Rookhorn, I think, is going to be
valuable.
More of a, yeah, a little bit valuable, maybe. More of a attempt to stop how strong the Rumble is going to be as opposed to being actually successful, but better than nothing at the end of the day. One of my concerns, though, for natives as they look forward, and with all of the gold being on the Rumble, I'm looking at how easy is it for the Rumble to execute versus specifically the carries of Venom Crest. Now, you put that equalizer down, Lingard has ulti, Fierce has Valkyrie to get out to safety. And of course, Lingard might not have a target to attack, might not have a person to ulti to, but not something you can really rely on. Kai'Sa not being able to ult. What you can attempt to rely on is support from your team. So I'm looking at Hybrid, I'm looking at Ball, and I'm looking now at Painful to see how well they can set up for the Rumble and how well they can set up that equalizer to do the damage, because they are now CC bots for this equalizer. If they can keep people locked down on it, they're going to have an immense amount of success. If, however, they're unable to do that, then that's when questions start to be asked and when the game becomes very, very tricky.
Yeah, the gold lead is there for natives, but a lot of that is off the plates and the grubs. The problem is on the other side. Those two dragons, as he kind of mentioning, could prove pretty difficult, especially considering an Infernal Soul. Something like a Kai'Sa and a Corki, pretty un-okay, I think is the way to phrase that in proper English parlance.
Exactly, yeah. Those are the words I would use anyway. That's how I
yeah, I'm glad, yeah, you know, good word choices. Yeah.
If we made the rest of the cash just using the lowest quality of word possible, we'd be on a... I think we'd be fired more than anything, but we're on pace to
probably.
get there.
I think the other thing is, like, I'm in this position as a person in general, as we are setting up for this dragon, so maybe musing about the English lexicon and what words you use when might have to wait a second or two.
I agree.
It's a great word, isn't it?
It is, and I'm definitely familiar with what it means.
It's kind of
you don't have to tell me. I'm definitely familiar. I'm definitely familiar.
Fine. You know what? You're right. I believe you know. It's true.
We've got a dragon.
I'm sure everyone else
36
does.
seconds before the Drake spawns, 2 item spikes come through for Fierce and Lingard. Very important that they've hit those junctures. Obviously, you're looking at Theoloris for natives. Can this equalizer be the difference maker in the fight to, put those carries to sleep?
Righty then. So, Sky Splitter comes on down, board's being cleared out, and Venom Crest are in a position where they can give up those dragons, especially if they want to play for that mid lane tier 1, which might be pretty valuable. Space. It's chunked just a little bit there. It's still just fine. Has had a rough old time of it, his Space, but still managed to get towards at least an item now.
And now that Drake has spawned.
Teleport behind.
Yeah, okay. Can they collapse though? Simpy sees it.
That'll be a Theoloris coming on down. Wait for the equalizer. Over the wall goes Theocax into a Fate Shield that again brings down 2. They get massive work on a Theocax who gets over the wall. Theoloris, though, is here and is ready and willing to show exactly why Mecha was always the best genre.
4 people, 3 people dying, 2 just deciding, I don't want to participate in that, thank you very much. And the question was, can natives keep somebody locked down on that equalizer? Fierce has had the unenviable task of seeing the time spent in combat and the time spent CC'd and seeing the exact same number across both of those stats. Locked up on the equalizer, never had a chance to flash, gets taken, burnt to a cinder in that fight. It's not just the dragon though. It's not just the 3 kills initialized, it's going to be the Baron as well.
Oh boy, that Rumble is just so strong. They tried to pick it off around the mid lane, if you remember, and they didn't have enough burst at that moment to kill them off before the flash came through and the turnaround was there. And on the other side, Highbridge on this Volibear, a player that's been a little maligned. I think it's fair to say Highbridge has really struggled to have impact. This Volibear has been doing absolute work. 1-1 and 10, Sundered Sky, Knight's Vow in. This is looking excellent for them.
Yeah, and the majority of this game, I think, falls onto Highbridge, making their presence felt really across multiple lanes very early on. We saw the first blood in the mid lane, we saw ganks go down on that bot side, and we were sort of hesitant to call it a big win because Lingard was going to be far ahead, but transitioned that into a top lane where Theoloris is now just this monster, 3.6k gold ahead of their counterpart. All off the back of solid early game from Volibear. Temporal on the desk was talking about making something happen on, specific timers. I think, timers or not, Highbridge has made those timers up and just decided he's ganking on a whim.
Okay, so Infinity Edge done for Fierce. Might be something, of course, still 2.5 items in for Lingard, who is going to be building towards Mystic Hone and Phoenix Cutters. It's going to be a Nash's Tooth, probably. think, with those items. If I remember my build paths correctly, you might know a little better as a occasional AP Kai'Sa player.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is just Nash's in without the recurve bow.
Yeah, exactly. That was my thought process. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. You know, you nailed it. Have the confidence.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but like, it's nice to give my color caster the chance to say you're wrong. Sometimes that's important.
Hey, you don't need to give me the chance. If you're wrong, I'll tell you. You know.
I'm glad to hear it. You know, no sparing my feelings as ever.
No, exactly.
Another thing to talk to my therapist about, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that one must have been on the cards at some point already. If you've made it this far without bringing it up, then more power to you, to be honest. The power of taking these two components of the Nashes, though, is that you've got a little bit from the Ginsus, and at level 13 as well, you don't need the full Nashes.
Q3!
Oh, goodbye!
Space is gone! Huge knock up afterwards! Painful doesn't get over the wall! Into the backline goes Lingard, beginning to walk away, but the damage from Theoloris is still monstrous! A 2 for 2, flash forward, gets the kill onto Painful, Theoloris goes
Great
golden!
Zonya!
Flame roasted! Team Venom Crest burn out! There is nothing left! A stall into the wall might buy some time! He might be going for absolutely everybody! No! Pentakill denied! Ball looking for a last! Auto! Burrell will do it! Ball alone survives! Supportal combat at its finest!
Iron Maiden, the one left standing. Natives come out very barely on top of that team fight. Theoloris honestly sacrificed himself for the glory of a pentakill, and shout out for going for it as well. I'd have done the exact same thing. They find themselves with an absolute banger fight down on the bot side. Kills across the board. Theus, I think, the main beneficiary on Venom Crest. Lingard able to pick up a couple of those kills as well. But we know where all the kills for Natives went. He's now 5,000 gold ahead of his laning counterpart, and just putting on a monstrous performance in this match.
He has been pretty wondrous. Of course, the game's not quite over yet, but as good as this Rumble is 5,000 gold ahead individually, and that looked like the perfect fight. Lenny, huge Q3 knockback, space immediately deleted, and they just could not kill the Rumble. The Zonya's timing was exquisite.
If there's one thing that we need to remember about this game, is that unfortunately for Space, he is not the leading carry for Natives this time round. As much as AD carry syndrome will get to the best of me as well at some point, he's just not Batman this game. This time, he's going to have to put out a chain of corruption, sit back and accept that that's his probably job done. If he gets ulted by Vi, if he gets ulted by Cassante and Rakan, that means that there are more useful members on his team that haven't eaten those cooldowns.
I think at this point, if you're Venom Crest, you are wanting to maybe give up this next Drake and try and wait for 3 items. You can get a 3rd item on the Corki, a 3rd item on the Kai'Sa. Maybe these plays get a little easier, but the XP differential alone is getting a little bit tricky. Theoloris is not miles off level 16, and then that Equalizer is really going to sting.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of the power that those early Drakes give you. If they're not actual combat power themselves, what they are is time for you to get to that combat power. With those 2 dragons, the mountain and the ocean, earlier on into the game that were traded by Natives for those Void Grubs, you've given yourselves that opportunity now to hit the 3rd items. There's that Nash's being picked up. There's that Lord Dominic's being finished. So good amount of value coming into the back pocket of the Venom Crest carries. And I want to take a moment as well just to highlight quite the disparity between these two teams and the preconceptions for this game. Venom Crest came off the back of a very important win yesterday up against another top team, whereas Natives have only so far found a win up against Blue Whites. To all intents and purposes, look as though they could very easily be one of the weaker teams in our competition. But taking a match up against Venom Crest and taking a match in this style as well, where for the most part they've just been in control. There's been a little bit of bot side question marks being raised, as Space has definitely been the focus of some attention, but that has been far surpassed by the power that Highbridge has been able to generate across all of the other areas of the map. And for them as a team, like we say, expected to be a lot weaker in this game, they've not looked it at all.
No, and in fairness, on the other side, I don't think Venom Crest, on the whole, have played poorly. Lenny gets the solo kill originally, lots of plays bot lane, Space was put miles and miles behind. But actually, Natives gave as good as they got a huge lead top side, and have leveraged it super well. I think you can, of course, criticize Venom Crest for overplaying in that mid lane. Giving up so much back is fierce.
Oh my god.
Disappears, but wait, the turnaround behind could be pretty huge. Lingard can come over the wall, will ult on in, but there's still an ult available from Painful. Theocax trying their best to get on out of here, but the Theoloris is just so strong.
That Rumble combo, quote for you, by the way, was get overheated, flash on the AD carry, and press Q auto. Like, Lingard couldn't really do a lot, unfortunately, but 4 nearly items on the Rumble, that's enough to take down a squishy Kai'Sa at this stage.
Well, there you go. I was going to say something more, but there really doesn't need to be much more said because Rumble has a death cap, has 11 kills, and will probably be able to laugh in the enemy's face as he roasts them all alive. It will look like episode 3 from Star Wars all over again. We're about to see Venom Crest turn up next week in Darth Vader armor.
Baron being started. Theocast there. They're turning though.
Oh man alive. Gonna try and get something back. It's not bad. Theocast stays alive, but all the while, Baron's still going down. Equalizer afterwards takes Theocast out of the fight. Ball will likely go down. Painful gets a big fate sealed. Over the wall with the Stormbringer goes Highbridge. Painful dips, ducks, dives, and dodges over that wall enough times to claim a little bit more himself, and 2 members fall. Venom Crest only gets ball in response.
A big win for Natives. They'll be more than happy with that sacrifice. Lenny and Theocast falling as well on that top side, so a trade, even without the Baron, that is very, very favourable for the Natives roster. They take themselves to a 10,000 gold lead now, and finally we're starting to see those gold leads creep into other areas of the map. 1,500 in the mid and jungle on averages. You take a look at the support gold. We're not particularly bothered about that as well, but if there's one shining point for Venom Crest, it has to be Lingard. He's, I would say even with his counterpart. 3 items apiece, but the rest of the map just not particularly looking as hot, unfortunately. As much as Fierce can dish out damage with these items at this point is very, very strong. Unfortunately, the time it takes him is just not long enough.
Oh boy. Simpy is on the wrong end of a fate seal. Thought he'd escape, but by battle dancing to his friends, he just brings Painful closer to the backline.
And now with Baron at their backs, tier 2 turret in the top lane, the beginning of their conquest, you'd like to think. Maybe they can break open the base. They have those Void Mites as well to add a little bit of extra punch to this power drive they're going to attempt to do into the Venom Crest base. Lingard doing what he can in terms of poke, has got that upgraded W and is looking potentially toward Azonia's to add a little bit more pack for the punch, and already it's becoming scary for Venom Crest and the base isn't broken open yet.
Space down to about 2/3. Theoloris, this monster from the top lane, 6.7, that 8,000 gold ahead. They have to try and find a way to manage him. The damage is there from Venom Crest, but the problem is the nuclear warhead on the other side just signed off on using the football. The keys are turned, and the enemy health bars are disappearing, turned to glass, vitrified in their own base. Lingard will cleanse away from the chains of corruption. A little bit of Schadenfreude, I'm sure, for Space, who was put under the cosh for so much of this game. Can the Kai'Sa do anything? It's an ultimate and a dream, just maybe, but it's got to be over.
W goes wide, that's on cooldown now, and all of your damage is gone.
Very rarely do we see a Rumble carry quite like that. It was backed up by excellent performances from Highbridge, from Painful, but the heat was well and truly turned up to sun level, courtesy of that Rumble.
Yeah, and it's in case Theoloris needed it anymore, you make a great point. It has been a while since you see a Rumble like that, because the later the game goes, the more difficult it is for a Rumble to carry like that. Typically a champion that is much more difficult to pilot in the late game has a really strong level 6 spike, and those mid-game fights can be very, very dominated by the Equalizer. But it's very rare you get to 30 plus minutes and you see a Rumble just happy to flash on top of an AD carry 1v1 and with very little competition take the fight.
Yeah, and I was beginning to worry that Natives were going to be less than the sum of their parts. That we were going to see people like Ball, who we'd seen good things from, Painful, who we were really high on after his debut, the last split, kind of not make it happen. And Theoloris, Highbridge, people we'd had some questions about, turned up today in a really dramatic fashion against a team that was looking pretty untouchable in a lot of ways in this league.
Yeah, Venom Crest certainly. I mean, coming into this, it was me for a question of them or Ruddy for who would be best in the league, and now you've got Natives taking a very, very big scalp off of Venom Crest there, and Ruddy now going into their match at the end of the day with a potential slot at first solo.
Yeah, well, after that searing result for the side of natives, we need to cool off with a break. And then we'll see what remains, and the analyst desk can break down and triage what the hell happened to get them that win.
Break it down, break it down. Step on the gas, let's get out of town. We're gonna break out and have some fun. We're gonna do what we never done. Oh yeah, yeah. Come on, take your body with you. It's a money weekend. Everything we wanna, we gonna do.